Today's edition of WTXN Games Forum 40 is free format. Coming up right now on WTXN Games Forum 40. Good afternoon, welcome to WTXN Games Forum 40. I'm Daniel Price. I'll be your moderator for this week. Yesterday there was a whole lot of things. We did a 3-day stream. I was planning for 4. But not able to achieve day 4 thanks to I was running low on games. Anyways, we do have people ready to participate. However, they are not in an area where they have a microphone at the moment. So we're gonna be waiting on them. And we're going to delve into the topics for this week. Now this week, GameStop's been flip-flopping. At first, they want all of their employees to continue working despite the coronavirus. They actually had their business license revoked in Pennsylvania. So now every single GameStop up there is closed. Now there are a few things I would like to touch upon before we get going with our conversation. And that is my missing Wii remote battery charger. Actually, no, that's not what I wanted to touch upon. What I want to touch upon is why GameStop thinks it's more essential than a food business right now. They've been forced to close in California, Washington, and Pennsylvania, and they stayed open for so long over there, but they actually got their business license revoked. Now, in any other situation, well, actually, they've gotten a bit greedy these days, so perhaps in very rare situations, people would have been crying tears. But we are in a time where you can't really do that for gaming companies right now. This is exactly why I send Discord messages very early. This is why I state if you want to participate in the forum, if you want to participate in Forum 40, the link is in the description below. That's an invite link. Now I got 5 rules for Forum 40. One is that all conversations must pertain to the subject at hand. Well, in the case this week, it's free format. We're limiting it to gaming, though. Rule 2, there will be no bashing of Republicans or Democrats during the program. Number 3, there will be no bashing of specific politicians unless they happen to be in the news about gaming, and even then, they can't be bashed for a political gain or political loss. The person must remain on topic. Number 4, there's got to be a minimum of 2 people in the forum participants chat room throughout the entire broadcast, which will mostly be 30 minutes. But there are some special editions in which we may have it for 1 hour or so. Now, starting next week, we're going to have to ask you to be here in the specific time zones. Eastern time zone will be 11:45 to 12:45, and that's so we can start WTXN Games Forum 40 at noon. And for each time zone west of here, that goes down, all 3 go down by an hour. So Central is 10:45 to 11:45 a.m., Mountain Time Zone is 9:45 to 10:45, and Pacific Time Zone is 8:45 to 9:45 a.m. As the show will start at 11 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Mountain, and 9 a.m. Pacific. Alright, looking at our screens now. I want to show you this overlay. Since this program, like Game Center 40, is in its infancy, we particularly don't have many we don't particularly have many guests. In fact, for the past 2 shows, that this one included, we've had 0. Alright. We're going to try to get a guest in here during the commercial break. We'll be back with WTXN Games Forum 40 right after this. Welcome back to WTXN Games Forum 40. I always forget to turn the microphone back on. But again, I always forget to turn it off when we go to a commercial break. Really needs a softie for that. Well, we still have we still have no guests. Which means that for the second week in a row, we've wasted our time. However, I have sworn to keep the conversation to gaming and not to popular streamers. But we do have a lot of near automaton news in the gaming media. We have the Namcot collection coming out soon. Netflix has confirmed a season 4 of Castlevania. Pokemon Masters is adding a Team Skull event along with the Scout banner for Guzman and Plumeria. We're going through the news right here, and we're waiting until we actually get a guest in here. If we don't have one by 12:55, this will have been week 2 wasted. Now, I know one of you is in a room where you can't use a microphone, and another person is, well, requirement here is a microphone. Time is now 12:50. Alright, so a specific topic is going to be a hook. A free format is not a hook. Wait. We finally got a person in here. There we go. There we go. Are you on?
Yes, I'm on. Okay.
Welcome to WTXN Games Forum 40.
Yep.
Let me go edit this little text file here.
Sorry if I'm a little bit up and off about the way I'm talking.
No, it's all right. It's all right. Let me get this new overlay up. We've got your name on the right side. If you're seeing the stream, can you see it now?
I can see it. I can see it perfectly.
Alright, so welcome to the forum, though it's a bit late. We got less than about 10 minutes to go in the program. So, what do you want to talk about on this free format Sunday? We're limited to gaming topics only.
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. Are we talking modern gaming or old gaming or whatever?
We're talking either era.
Because I'm not too much of a gamer, so
That's all right. I'm welcoming all perspectives.
Let me think. So here's a good question. I've been thinking about this. Do you think VR gaming is all that big still when it comes to console gaming?
That's something I haven't given. That is something I have not given much thought to.
Yeah, because I've seen the PS4 VR, but I don't even know if that's still a big thing or not anymore.
Well, I think the PS4 VR has got a sizable base, not as big as the Valve and Vive and whatever the PC ones are.
Oh, reminds me, I just thought of a good one. Okay, so why do you think the PS5 will have full backwards compatibility, even though they've mentioned only the PS4 backwards compatibility? And if not, why do you think they wouldn't go for full backwards compatibility?
Alright. I think the way that they're going to try and achieve it is through emulation, because you can't recreate the PS3 CPU in the modern age. You can't recreate the PS2's CPU in the modern age, well, because they're currently far too advanced for FPGA chips if they were going to go down that route. So I definitely think they may go more towards the emulation side, and then they'll probably test, I don't know, a few of the more than 3,000 games across the various first 3 PlayStations.
You know what, maybe you could explain to me that, because I've never understood that. So, when we talk about backwards compatibility, what exactly do they need to do to achieve that? Is it, because I've heard people say because I've never understood that, because I would think a newer system should be able to play older games, but I've never understood why that's not possible with newer systems. Could you explain that to me?
Of course I can explain it. Now, we're going to take this to the Master System, the Genesis, and the entire Game Boy line, all the way up to the Nintendo DS. But basically, it all comes down to the hardware.
Oh,
Now,
really?
yes, it all comes down to the hardware. Now, the Master System and the Sega Genesis both sported a Z80. And that Z80 is needed to play a Master System game on the Genesis if you're using the power base converter and whatnot. Now, when it comes to the Game Boy CPU is basically a DMG processor. The Game Boy Color basically has a beefed up version of that. That was carried over to the Game Boy Advance, which got its own chip so it can play its own games. But by the time the Game Boy Micro came out and the Nintendo DS, that chip, that beefed up DMG chip for Dot Matrix game, which was its code name, that had already been removed from the PCB. So the Game Boy Micro and the Nintendo DS could not be backwards compatible with the Game Boy or the Game Boy Color, but could with the Game Boy Advance.
Huh. So like with
if you're going for true backwards compatibility, you got to have the hardware. You've got to have the hardware that those games were made for. The specific chips, the specific CPUs. If you don't have that, you'll have to go down the emulation route.
And is that more difficult to do or easier to do for a system?
It actually go ahead.
Oh, I'm just curious because with that, is it like is doing an emulator? Well, here's a good question. If they're doing an emulator sort of setup for that, is the quality any different than just doing a straight up backwards compatibility?
The video quality or the quality of the gaming?
Quality of the game.
It kind of depends on how accurate that emulation is.
Okay.
Now, what was the question you were going to ask before you went and asked that one?
I can't remember, honestly.
Well, here's how the history of emulation worked for a really long time. You had this chip, and you don't know what it's doing behind the scenes, and you basically had to nitpick and guess, from what I can understand. But today, you can practically just dump a chip and scan all of its functions, and you basically have emulated an entire CPU onto an FPGA. I don't know if they'll be going down that route for the backwards compatibility, but with the technology today, it seems very plausible.
It's interesting.
All right, we have about 2 minutes left. Is there anything else you want to say before we cut off?
No, not for the moment. I just hope that maybe we will get some more backwards compatibility for the PS5, at least because they're going up against the Xbox X, which they made a big deal out of the fact it's going to be backwards compatible with all Xbox games, I believe. So I really hope Sony does something to sort of try and compete with that idea.
Who knows? They might have some. They might have something up their sleeves.
No, let's hope so.
Anyways, that is going to do it for WTXN Games Forum 40. I'm Daniel Price, and have a good Sunday.